Well, better time to do it now than ever. Wandering Sun is a coming-of-age anime and manga, which is, in my opinion, very underrated and mostly unknown, because even I didn't know about this till a few months ago. And I only watched it now because it's Pride Month and because I had other things to watch, but mostly now because I wanted to do something and, watch something that's very in LGBT pride. The story revolves around two young kids who want to be the opposite gender of what they were assigned to at birth. Oh yeah, we're going there. Themes that are scattered throughout the show have to do with gender expression, transsexuality, puberty, and then all the struggles that come with it. So now I will be giving my review of both the anime and the manga, because they both intersect with each other. Just my raw emotion, no big edits or jokes or whatever, just what's on my mind. I have a few notes here, just to bullet point it, and then at the end I will have a special message, which if you see the description and the title of the video you can probably already guess what it is, but let's get it started. So as mentioned before, the story centers around two transgender kids who want to be the opposite gender that their body is and that they were assigned to at birth. There's Nidori, who wants to be a woman, and then there's Tatatsuki. And then there's Tatatsuki, who wants to be a boy. Big significance to it because for the life of me, watching this anime and reading this manga, I don't think I've ever seen this story dealt like this, because the anime and the manga is a lot more lighthearted than you might think, and I'll talk about how that is in the anime, but dark stuff do happen, and when it happens, it is dark, but it takes a more lighthearted feel to it. Like, it's more, I wouldn't say happy-go-lucky, but like, it's not just constant darkness and darkness all the time. There is a light side to everything, as there is to a dark. And this anime definitely embraces the light side of this. Let's start with characters. We have our main character, Nidori, who wants to be a girl. He is more, feminine in what he does. He cleans, he cooks, which, isn't necessarily just feminine, but, just go with me on this. And he transfers in to a new school, and his secret is revealed when he accidentally enters the door when he's dressed up and one of his new classmates see him. And then that lets him meet Tatatsuki, who wants to be a boy, and we'll get back to her later. But with Nidori, since he is our lead, Tatatsuki is also our lead, but it's mostly Nidori's story, he wants to be a girl. He dresses up all the time, he goes out when he can, he wears wig, he has to deal with his sister discovering his secret and seeing that he is trying on her clothes, and the struggles that come with all of that. Next up we have Tatatsuki, who wants to be a boy. She is more tomboyish and dresses more masculine. Some of the struggles that she goes to is her breasts growing after puberty, her having to wear a bra. It's hard to talk about these themes when no one ever does in any other sort of media. So the journey that both these characters go to, which, by the way, Tatatsuki and her sort of turn of character that happens in like the last third of the manga, was an interesting fresh breath of air from what I've normally seen before. Her character does a sort of, I'd say 90 degrees from what it started with, but it was a believable turn of events, because I have a friend who went through the same kind of journey that she did and went through the same conclusion that she did, so that's why I believe that what she does in the end of the manga is completely believable. But these two main leads, it's just, I think the anime and the manga benefits from having them young. It's young feelings, young kids, them dealing with all the things that they have to do to feel the way that they want to feel, and I really liked it. This anime also had good supporting characters. You know how most coming-of-age stories have like anime archetypes, especially if the anime takes place during school. And while you could see the archetypes here, they have more layers to them. It isn't just like this trope of character or this trope of character. It's like, this is a trope of character, but there's more to them than what you see. One of my favorites of the supporting characters was Chi, which the anime starts off in middle school. So the first day that most of our characters meet her, she comes to school dressed in the male school uniform, which surprises everyone, especially Nidori and Tatsuki, because they didn't think that this could happen, but she does it more for fun, because she just likes to change it up sometimes. She just likes to have fun. Like sometimes she'll keep on forgetting, quote, quote, forgetting her ribbon that they have on their uniform, or so sometimes come in wearing a tie just because she wants to do it for fun. She doesn't identify as anything else, she just likes doing it for fun. The anime definitely also benefits with having the character of Yuki there, who is a transgender woman who went through the same experiences that our two main leads did. It benefits because not only is she there and her partner Sheena to give both Nidori and Tatsuki advice and encouragement and comfort, but it's also there to show them and the audience that having a life like this is perfectly normal and you can come out of it happy and satisfied with who you are. And then Yuki and Sheena's backstory, which happens in episode 11 of the anime, is my favorite scene in this show. So you can expect a fandom of that eventually. Next, I want to deal with more the animation in the anime. Watching the anime after reading 33 chapters of the manga, and then the anime starts at that point, it kind of reminded me of the animation in the Studio Ghibli movie Only Yesterday. For those of you who haven't seen it, it uses more like pretty, I want to say, watercolors. Like it just focuses in the middle of the screen with the characters in small background, and then most of the outline is just white, sort of like encompassing childhood memories and innocence that are a contrast to the very well-animated adult scenes that also happen in the movie. And this anime kind of reminded me of that. There's a sort of childlike innocence to the anime with its animation and just how it is. It's like simple colors, but it's effectively simple. Like, the anime is really good at having big, deep moments when the characters are just like sitting, pondering their life, and then the animation shows you what they feel, what they're thinking through animation, and then allows you as the viewer to discover how you yourself feel about the scenario and the characters and what they're going through. And I really love animes that can do that. The manga has an interesting time span to it. It starts off with Nidori transferring towns and schools at the age of, I want to say 10, 11, and then it ends with him graduating from high school and going on to his future life. So we get to run the gamut of all the different emotions of a coming-of-age story, and you don't really see that big of a time span dealt with in stories. So I feel like it was really well done that this manga and anime did that. Talking about the time span, it does bring up my one gripe with this manga and anime, and is that the pacing never feels right. Like, it can get back on track sometimes, and when it does, it is very effective, but I never felt like the pacing was always right. Like, sometimes it would be so slow and keep on dragging and elaborating on points that we've already established and we've already talked about and we already know, and it just keeps on bringing it up and up and up, and I didn't feel like it was always necessary. But then on the opposite of that, and this is especially true in the last 10 chapters of the manga, and that's that the pacing is way too fast. It jumps ahead way too many times, and I really couldn't keep track of how the characters felt, in between the time span, what had happened, what's changed, how thoughts have changed. It's not that hard to follow, but when you keep on jumping around like that, and the end of the manga does do that, and the ending of the manga does do that, I should say, it's kind of hard to follow. But that's just one gripe with it. Last point I want to make is that I love how do I say, personal the manga and then somewhat of the anime can get sometimes. Talking about Only Yesterday again, there's a part of the anime that the main character recounts in her childhood where the teachers bring the girls together and then they talk about stuff like periods, what's going to happen to their bodies when they grow up. And then the boys eventually learn about this, and then what I'm going with this is that it's taking a very adult thing that you don't normally hear children talk about, and then children experience and talk about it. And then this manga and anime sort of do the same thing. Wandering Sun shows you both Nidori and Tatatsuki and how their bodies keep on evolving. I shouldn't say evolving, but growing as they do grow up. Like, for example, Nidori does have wet dreams, which is completely normal for anyone of his body type and his age. He can't control, the dreams that he has and then what goes down in his private area when he's sleeping. But that's all well and good, but something that the manga does, and I think the anime does it one time, I can't really remember, is that when Nidori has a wet dream, they show you him reaching down his pants, bringing it back up, and then seeing the cum on his hands all end of Evangelion style. What else? Okay, sex is also a big topic in this. In the manga and anime, Nidori has a girlfriend, and so some of the topics that bring up is how are they going to do this sort of stuff with the girlfriend, whose name is Anna, who I probably forgot to mention is also amazing, can deal with being in a relationship with someone who wants to be the opposite gender. And I know I'm getting off topic of what I was talking about before, but the conclusion of their relationship is probably my favorite part of this manga and anime. But just the sex, an adult thing, but with kids talking about it. We also deal with Tatatsuki and her period in the anime. And then in the manga, when she turns about the right age for it, she starts getting her period. And she doesn't like it because she's experiencing this womanly thing when she wants to be a boy. So we have all of these adult things that these children are experiencing, which children do experience it, but you don't really see a type of media that lets the kids explore it as opposed to the adults. And then there's also when the manga, I don't think the anime does it. The anime does it maybe one time, but several times, the manga shows Nidori masturbating. That's right. They show him masturbating. They don't show him full on down there, but when they do it, he's in his bed under the covers. You can see his head and the rest of his body is covered with bedding. But you see him, panting, getting a little sweaty, his face getting red, and then during the release, you see that. There's just something interesting about the raw emotion of all of that makes the characters more personal and believable in the actions that they are doing and the struggles that they are having. And I really loved it. So if you haven't guessed by now, I love this manga and anime. The themes that it has, the characters, the story, just the emotional roller coaster of two children's life is so engaging and satisfying to watch. There are so many moments in the anime and the manga that just, they hit you because it's real and it's believable, and you may or may not know people, or you yourself have gone through similar circumstances. Like, for example, there's something that happens at the end of episode 9, and the episode continues to build and build to it, and then when it happens, it's bam, in your face, it's happening. There's no going back from what we've just done. So, I fucking love this manga and anime. I'm giving Wandering Sun an A. Honestly, my only gripe with this show and manga is that the pacing always seems to be off. It never has like a constant flow. It's either too slow or too fast. And honestly, that is a very minor gripe in a fantastic anime and manga. I mean, okay, our two transgender kids throughout the course of the manga and anime do several things like, let me look at this list. Okay, if we talk about just Nidori, he tries on his sister's clothes in secret, and then when it's exposed, they have a little struggling there. And he records his younger voice before it gets deepened because of puberty. And by the way, when that did happen, when his voice started to deepen, I was bawling. Both Nidori and Tatatsuki start to hate their bodies as they grow up, with Nidori with his pimples and facial hair and deepening the voice, with Tatatsuki with her period and more breast growth. They also pretend to use other people's names when they are alone, We mostly know them by their last names, but they have masculine or feminine names, so they kind of swap it with each other in secret. Then they get jealous when other people are wearing opposite gender clothing just for fun, like Chi does. She doesn't identify as that way, she just likes to do it for fun, and that's why they can get away with it, while these two characters sometimes can't, and you really see how that affects them. And they have dreams of going to school in the clothing of the gender that they identify. And it kills them inside not knowing what would happen if they do, but they don't do it because they're too nervous of the unknown consequences that might ruin their life forever. All things that I did when I was a kid. Because I'm a woman. And that's all there is to it.